Hello and welcome my counted cross stitch friends. My name is Amanda Mae and this is my channel Ardith Design. Today we're going to be a little different. I am going to show you what's underneath my blanket. Well, my quilt top, really. I have been unpacking and getting my autumn stuff ready for Halloween, and I watched Lindy Stitches, the Stephanie Webb video about the tote extravaganza, where she challenged everyone to show the totes. Well, I don't have totes, I got boxes. So, we are gonna do a tote extravaganza. And I'm gonna have to move my camera back. We might have a little bit of a Steadicam issue, so please bear with me here. All right, here we go. We are going to do this tote extravaganza stuff, and we're not going to do it in any particular order because I got piles upon piles of good stuff to show you. So you know what? I'm going to pull this pile up over here, and I'll start showing you that. Then that way I have a place to put other stuff. Okay, here we go. We're going to start the tote extravaganza. Oh, I should preface. So Steph, she went through her last video. I'll make sure to link her below, and she showed all of her autumn finishes, and that included both her own personal stitches as well as stitches she's done from other designers. So you are going to be seeing a mixture of two. You're going to see my stuff, and you're going to see other designers, and you're going to see stuff that I didn't stitch, like this little owl right here. He is a crewel embroidery, C-R-E-W-E-L, crewel embroidery. But then like this little piece right here, I stitched and I finished myself. So we are gonna go along for this little ride, this little journey. I got my little stuffed animals on the side of my studio. Yes, you're never too old to enjoy some good plush. All right, so let's start with this piece. So this is Autumn Dream. This is Carriage House, not Carriage House. Clearly I have Kathy Barrick on the brain. Whoo. This is Cottage Garden Samplings, Autumn Dream. I love this. When I saw that little pumpkin house, I knew I needed to stitch this piece. I have it in a basic frame from Amazon. I think it's like a 15 by 15 inch frame, and I stitched it with all the called for DMC colors. I didn't use any fancy floss, but I stitched it on a toasted almond 32 count fabric, and it's just framed in the basic back frame. Love this piece. This really turned me on to Cottage Garden and her work, and she's got some really cool stuff that came out. She's got a new Halloween piece out, so that's really cool. So here's my piece, and I got some pugs kind of starting to growl. All right, so I'm going to start a pile as I show you. The next little piece here is a Prairie Schooler. As you can see, she is wrinkled and crinkled. I stitch in hand. She should have a gate, like fence all around, but I opted out of doing that. Number one, I made a counting error. And so I knew that I would have to fix the error in order to properly line up the border. And I said, you know what? I think this looks beautiful as is without that. So I went ahead and just stitched it. You will see there is a difference, and you can see it really well in this light. So I'm trying to zoom in here with the camera so you can see. Here, the houses are stitched with 2 strands of the 3371 DMC, and you can see how full and luscious they look. Whereas the witch here, I stitched her with just 1 strand of 12 weight floss on this 32 count fabric. And you can see through, you can see the white behind. So 2 strands of the 12 weight cotton would have been way too thick. So I should have just, for the black, I should have definitely just used the 3371 and done 2 strands versus 1 strand of the 12 weight. But this was a great learning experience for me, and you can see firsthand the difference in coverage when you're using black or an almost black. The orange is Purdy Orange by Victorian Motto Sampler Shop. She dyed that custom for me when I made the fan piece for Steph over at Just Keep Stitchin' and her Banana Pants Purdy phrase. I loved it so much, I had a floss named after it and a pattern. Yeah, I promise it was, just really loved them. They really kept me jovial and happy, like right after having a baby and stuff. So here, this is a piece. It is a thrift store piece, a Save the Stitches. It is on a 14 count Aida. I took it out of its frame. It was matted. It had like an oval round mat, and you can see there is some staining, which it's okay. I could always like dip this whole thing in coffee and like do a dip dye to make it look like rusty crusty, you know, grungy. But as of right now, it looks just fine to me. So this little kitty cat, I had to save her. Look at, she's in with the apples. Again, I did not stitch this. This was somebody else. You can really see the matting there. So I have this. I was thinking about putting it on a project bag or maybe as like a quilt block, a quilt square. All right, I'm gonna pull this down a little bit. So these two are some of my first two designs that I ever stitched. I don't have the patterns released or anything. They are just fun little ones that I stitched and designed, and clearly I need to fully finish them. So my little Happy Harvest with the gourds, and then my love of buttons, I had to put the buttons. This is like a thicker type even weave fabric. I literally had just started stitching, and I got this in the aisle at one of the big box stores, one of the big fabric stores. So it's interesting to see how things have changed in my style and stitching and fabric choices. So that's been really interesting. So the next piece is this little tiny, I stitched this for a Just Cross Stitch live event that I did last year. This is out of their ornament issue, their Halloween issue, and I loved it as a little kitty cat. I'm sorry, I don't remember the designer. And I showed it as a spool finish, and here since then I've just done like a little whip stitch around, and I think it's just so precious. So I was thinking about making this into a flat finish, like a flat ornament, but it hasn't gotten there yet. But I've got whip stitch edges, so kind of looks like she's done, right? This is my first ever spool finish, and it was testing out on 14 count Aida, the Blendables by Sulky, which is their variegated thread, their 12 weight cotton thread. And I was using the Autumn, which you stitched it, you complete each X as you go, and that gives you the maximum color variation there. So I just made a little thing, glued it down with some rickrack. This is a spool I got on, it was part of a set that I got, I believe, online, and then I dyed it, stained it with something. All right, this next piece here is Frightfully Sweet Honey. As you can see, it really needs to be fully finished. I know, it's frightful. So it's on a piece of Gunmetal Gray by Weeks. I got this fabric. I won it with the Just Cross Stitch ornament contest. So this was the piece that I won. So when you don't have a whole lot of stash, but you want to start designing patterns, you use what you got. So I stitched this with one strand of Sulky Frightfully Sweet Honey. This one is stitched, you can see the variegation. The honey is a Blendables, and then the Frightfully Sweet is another single color. I started adding This is a fabric swatch from my Boobies fabric that I have on my Spoonflower shop. So I want to fully finish that. All right. The next thing in my tote extravaganza is this piece. I had finished this when I released it a couple years ago, and then I went back and changed my finishing and fully finished it for last year or 2 years ago. Anywho, this is my pumpkin pie spice sampler. And this is one of the first times that I tried to do a published pun on food, like a food pun. So pumpkin, I'm going to move the camera now. Pumpkin pie spice dripping down into my pie mug with the mathematical constant. I tried the loopies, all the different types of pumpkins, French press, but it's got a candy corn at the top, candy corn French press. And then these are coffee berries. The really cool about the coffee bean is that it's encased in like a little berry. So there's the floating berries instead of floating coffee beans, the pumpkin pie spice, and then actual pumpkin pie there. And this is with fragrant cloves. It's one of my favorite overdyed colors. The jack-o'-lantern by Color and Cotton is a close, I would say, oh man, never mind. I love them both. It's not even, well, like children, you can't have a favorite. So I have this kit here that I got. This was a gift from my friend Karen. Thank you, Karen. This was a Color and Cotton exclusive little kit, and she passed it on to me. And this is my finish. I made so many mistakes, and I should have stitched it on the correct color fabric. So shame on me for not following directions. So here is my boo, and as you can see, she is not finished, fully finished. I finished her in a sense of I'm done with her. She should have a witch and stuff, but I did it on such a light fabric that I didn't feel comfortable. See, it just didn't look right. I definitely do it on the green so you can get the witch, and I need to add little buttons. But what I'm saying about the colors, so my favorite, I would say my favorite Weeks orange is the pumpkin pie spice, which is this orange. And I used it in this. I'll show you this. I have never released this, but this was actually one of my very, 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 very first patterns I ever designed and stitched myself. It is using cinders and fragrant cloves. And I got those colors at Kathy's shop in Frederick, Maryland. The PH Wool and Needle, Primitive Homespun's Wool and Needle. It was the first time I ever purchased and used fancy floss ever. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy is also the one that taught me how to do punch needle embroidery. So anyway, this was my first design using the orange, and I loved it so much. And then I utilized it here. And then here, this is Color and Cotton. Again, this is not Gentle Art, the overdyed. And there's Pumpkin Glow and Candy Corn. Oh, and then she also has a jack-o'-lantern, which is not in this kit. So sorry, I thought jack-o'-lantern was in this kit. But really pretty. Can you tell I like orange? Oh my gosh. And then so on the subject of that, so this is also stitched with fragrant cloves. This is a little piece. I stitched it on a piece of R&R Reproductions fabric. I bought a big pack of her like remnant pieces, fabric remnants, when I went to her shop, Dying to Stitch and shop, and so that's on one of those. I don't know the name of it. And then I just fully finished it this weekend. This little pillow using the fabric. I was inspired, so I had to get this cute little fabric. I believe this is just from a big box store fabric. So I ordered that on eBay because my husband wanted masks made, and he wanted for football season. So this is not a partisan channel, I promise, but I just want to show you. So I ordered This is the masks that I made for him. I modified my pattern because he's a big boy with a beard. So I made a bigger mask. So I got these 2 prints, and then, you know, he couldn't just have fabric. I needed fabric too. So I bought this too, again, from eBay. This pumpkin fabric here, so excited about. I got it as a set. Here, I'll show you the whole thing right here. So I watched Emily of Eclectic Possessions a couple weeks ago. I'll make sure to link her channel below. And she had a fabric, beautiful bag, project bag made for her. And she was talking about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that fabric, right? Literally less than 24 hours later, a shop nearby to me, in Alexandria, Virginia, called Artistic Artifacts. The owner's name is Julie. Sorry, I forgot your name. Artistic Artifacts. She's going to be a vendor with me at the Needlework Emporium on October 16th down in Bethesda, Maryland. Anyway, I ordered online from her, and then it immediately came in, but I couldn't just get that single print that I saw on Emily's channel. I also got the 4 other prints that she had in stock on her shop. So it's Full Moon by Helen Black for Dashwood Studios. That's the fabric line. So I got the pumpkins here. I got pumpkins. I just got a half yard cuts. I got this one. Love it. Then it had the cats. And then there's these really cool, this fabric panel one. Here, I have other Halloween fabric in here that are not part of the line. So this was the 4th piece, and it's a panel. So there's owl. There's the kitty cats I'm trying to show you. So there's the kitty cats. I guess I gotta open it up better. All right, so there's the pumpkin, the owl, that mushroom, kitty cats, the moths, little birdie. Not sure if that's supposed to be a black crow or be a raven like Edgar Allan Poe. And kitty cat and the bird. And then the last one here is this beautiful floral motif. So I am super excited for the panels. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them, but I have them and I love them. All right, so I've showed you creeping it around. I got to put that back in the little basket here. I've shown you the model that I have never released, and I decided to fully finish it with that fabric because, hello, gorgeous. I have up here, oh my gosh, this is another model I stitched and never released. I was gonna make it into a pincushion. Okay, and then I made this last year, this pillow, and it's, oh, I made so many mistakes, but I love it. It was my first time trying the Poly Sparkle top, and then on the bottom is just a regular thread, but trying decorative stitches with the metallic thread. So that's like a pumpkin pillow. I've got like 4 more that I need to sew up. I haven't finished yet. And then this was a Save the Stitches that I got, and it's a mantle. It's really cool. It's oh, I'll have to do a video. I'll have to put it on my mantle and show you. So it's pretty decoration. All right, while I'm here, I am not affiliated with this company in any way. All right, so I just got this online, talking to you about it right now. This is acid-free tissue paper. Neutral, acid-free, buffered tissue paper. I wrap my pieces and I put them in boxes. Now, please know, these are not, Banker's boxes are not archival acid-free quality, okay? And I know that. I need to get better boxes, okay? But in here, here's Hello Summer. In here are all of my models, and they're wrapped and put away using the acid-free tissue paper. So I'm just saying that. And we're going to move on to some other goodies over here. Okay, and my tote extravaganza continues. in here. This is not necessarily autumn, but I'll show you anyway. This is one of the first little designs that I made. It is Love, and I created this in commemoration when Prince Harry and Meghan got married. When I was really young, it was shortly after his mother, Princess Diana, died. You know, we watched the funeral in California, my family and I knew he was gonna marry a Californian and move to California, and everyone thought I was really silly for saying that, and then it happened. Anyway, create magic 24/7, 365 days a year. This is one of my very first designs as well. I had it framed and pinned using the Kitten Stitcher pinning tutorial. I'll make sure to tag her below, the Kitten Stitcher channel. So I had this framed and I didn't like it anymore. And so I decided to, oh my gosh, there's that fabric again, finish it as a pillow. I stuffed it with the dry wood shavings from my woodworking friend and cotton, the polyfill. So it's got a combination of both and I love it. I'm so happy I decided to make that into a pillow. Okay, the next piece I have is another Save the Stitches. I stored these in two separate parts. So I store this fall, I had this piece here as like, here, let me try to show you better. So here we go. I had got this piece. Y'all helped me identify it last year. And I am blanking now. Of course I'm blanking now. Okay. I ended up matching the color and finishing the border, but leaving the rest, like I didn't do any, this is supposed to be a plaid border. And I did not finish that. I just finished the blocks. I put it on the back. I used Aleene's tacky glue around the Ada, and then I put 2 of the magnets here, and I lined up my magnets on Home Full of Happy and added this little thing. So I store fall, I store that separately. I don't, and not on the frame. So that is a Save the Stitches. All right, let's move over here. Let me see if I can kind of tilt the camera a little bit. All right, so we're moving over. Just finished stuffing this pillow. Super excited about this. This is a Barbara Anna piece. It is available on Creative Poppy. I stitched this on a piece of that almond, which was left over from my Autumn Dream piece that I showed you in the beginning. And I put a piece of just quilting cotton, but it looks like plaid. I didn't do the plaid on point, as you can see, and I still need to add my little patch over here, but you can see, if you have not done this type of finish before, you can see kind of what this looks like. I whip stitch this in kind of the dead of night, but I'm going to go ahead and put a decorative felt patch over it and hide it. It's got the wood as well as the polyfill. All right, my next piece, again, needs to be patched, is my Edgar Allan Poe commemorative grave site. He is buried, anyway, the grave is in Baltimore. You can go see it. So I wanted to do like an ode to that. So there's like the pit and the pendulum, and then the brick. And then I did a crow and a raven, and you can tell the difference by their tails and their feathers. So anyway, that is also one of my very first patterns that I ever designed and stitched. The next piece here is my acorn assortment. This is a piece adapted for cross stitch. It was in the 16th century filet crochet block print book from the public domain book within the Metropolitan Museum of Art's collection. And I stitched this all and love it. So this is available. You can make it, I put it in like this little frame that I had over painted, but I mean, you could really, here, I can pull it out and show you. See, like that's what the frame, anyway, I just tucked it right in. You could make it into a pillow. So I have this one, and then I have the spring one too. This technically not autumn, but was in my collection. This is a Stonewashed Sampler. This is my very, very first little sampler that I made. And the very, very, very first time I ever stitched a model using sulky threads. So that was my very first little model. All right, I got a couple stories to tell you here. Home Sweet Haunted Home. All right, this is out of a Just Cross Stitch magazine. I want to say it was 2019, but it might be 2020. I want to say it was Cassandra Fairy Wool in the Wood, the Italian designer, I believe was her. I stitched this with sulky, and it's one of my favorite browns. It's called Milk Chocolate, I think 4011, and it's the brown variegated here. I have tried finishing this 4 different times. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 different times. This is the 4th time. I decided to finally finish it as a pillow using the fabric. But wait, it's upside down. Yes, it is. I was stitching, and I had done all this stuff. I put the interfacing in, I was stitching. I went to reach over, and on my finger, this finger right here, well, you don't need to see it, it's bad. Put my finger right through the needle in my sewing machine and broke the needle, and oh my. So, as you can see, I did not decide to fix my error. I stuffed her, filled her up. She's good to go. My husband said, sweet irony that you've had such a hard time with your haunted home piece. Let's not think about that too much. Okay. Some more of my just little spools. This is one of my favorites. And then I use the decorative ribbon from Monahan Papers. And she's on Etsy. And I think she's the partner for Needlework Press. I think they're partners. All right, so Halloween, I worked on beadwork and kind of learning how to do some beadwork and doing a little finish like this, learning all the things. I love to save my little tiny scraps of fabric because you never know when you might want to do a little ornament. Here I use some of my vintage spools, some more ribbon. I think this is like Button Warehouse, Button Galore, one of those with the fun kitty cats. All right. Then I've got this piece up here. This is my autumn piece I found at the used bookstore Wonder Book in Frederick, Maryland a couple years ago. It was, oh my goodness, it was dirty, and it was in a glass frame that was 2 sizes too big for it, and it was in the dark corner of the bookstore, and I found it and said, yup, it's coming home with me. So I took it out of the frame, I washed it, pressed it, and mounted it. Now, it was taped down in the back, so you can see the yellowing here. That's okay. I used stitchery tape and just taped it down to an acid-free mat board. And then I didn't want to glue it onto the Ada itself, but I did the magnets, so this goes on a little board. Boop! There are 4 seasons to this, and I did not grab the pattern to show you. So this is just, again, I did not stitch this. But for autumn, I'm going to show it and display it. The next Save the Stitches piece is this. Love it. I actually did a matchmaker and found this complete kit. So I have, it's a old school dimensions kit. So I cleaned this. It was really dirty, and then I mounted it and just tried to, I got a lot of, she had a lot of like stray stitches loose that I went through and clipped. So this goes out, and it has its frame that I put it in, but to store it, I don't have it in a frame. Oh my goodness, so many good things to talk about. This is Frightfully Sweet Bouquet. This is my design. It's stitched with sulky threads on the gunmetal gray. and finished with the little patch around the back. I used some just fun little trim that I actually found at a scrapbook store, and I thought it was so dang cute I had to add it. I love batiks, so this blue was perfect, and who doesn't love some bats? All right, we're coming towards the end of my tote extravaganza. Here is my birds of a feather piece. Now, I decided just to stitch the top half. The other half, the bottom here, is like the skeleton and the grave, and it's really awesome. But I decided to just do this top half. And I worked it in a 14 count Aida that I hand dyed myself. I put it in a thrift store frame, and you know what? I wish I would have painted this frame, but I didn't. I have it set back with the drive thingies, the metal drivers, so I can go back through. I think I could fix it and paint it. I think I can do that. So I did a thread conversion, used sulky. My regret, which I should have learned the first time, this was my first witch that I stitched. I stitched this with one strand of the sulky, and I feel like her dress is a little light. And then you'd think I'd learn my lesson when I stitched the second one. Nope, I didn't. So note to self, with the dark threads, fuller is better. But I think I got discouraged because I had done 2 strands up here in her hair, and it was just too bulky on the 14 count. So it just, I think the sweet spot is like a 16 or 18 count Aida. And then I got these little star and little mini buttons and attached all of those. All right, my last 2 little pieces I will show you. This is Lindy Stitches Stephanie Webb, A Part But in My Heart. This is her part of her ex-ghoul friends release, in which she had 2 parts. I just stitched the first part. I stitched this entirely, well, no, not entirely. Okay, so I stitched the green is with the Valdani 8-weight thread, pearl cotton. It was a green, really beautiful. And then the remainder of these is all stitched with the Old Tattered Flag Primitive Sampler Pack threads. Her 6-strand cotton embroidery threads. I believe she hand dyes them for like wool work and punch needle, because the Old Tattered Flag, she is the owner of Ultra Punch. So, but for cross stitch, they're not, so the threads are nice and they're pretty and primitive, but the texture of the threads are not as soft as Color and Cotton or Gentle Arts. I would put it on par, like being a little bit stiffer than a Weeks floss, just for some perspective. I need to put a patch on the back of this as well, but I wanted to use that coordinating fabric. And then I think I might put a locket here with a picture of me with my face painted green, because I won the contest for the ex-ghoul friends over on Instagram a couple years ago when I painted my face blue and won that pattern. All right, you've heard me talk a lot. You've heard me talk a lot about my award-winning boobies. Here she is, Boobies Apiary. This is my pun on Halloween and fun things stitched with fragrant cloves and all the good stuff. And you gotta have 2, nice and perky. Love this piece, hope you love it too. And yeah, here's my tote extravaganza. So just to show you again, I've got the bankers boxes and I have things organized by models and seasons, and I need more banker boxes, or ideally some acid-free preservation boxes. But until then, here we are, ready to put out the autumn stuff. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a beautiful week of stitching, and I'll talk to you soon. Love ya!